Hey guys, welcome to the CCA corner. I'm Badmouth. I'm here with Mallory.
Hey, I'm Mallory, in case you didn't know or in case you forgot. Hey.
uh, on this episode, we're going to be covering opting, right? We've been talking about that for a while. Opting, hold down, midi bid, the whole jam. I think those are most of the names for it. And then in last week's episode, we talked with Emily about getting involved. So at the end, where we normally do our solidarity soapbox type thing, Mallory and I are going to talk about some orgs that you can get involved with and kind of some of the cool shit that they're doing in the next couple weeks. So we can give you actual ways to get involved. So, yeah, why don't we get started?
By all means, let's get started. So, first of all, what is opting? If you're a baby CCA and you're just trying to get into everything and understand what's going on, you're not going to know what opting is. Those of you who've been around the blocks a couple times, you know what opting is by now, hopefully. And if not, then by all means, let's do it up. So, first, we have to tell you about the JCAM, so you understand what it is, because I'm not entirely sure that we have mentioned it yet. The Joint Contract Administration Manual is the NALC USPS interpretation of the National Agreement that breaks down language in a way that both the union and the post office agree to. Your steward probably sees it as the postal Bible. When we get a new national agreement, the post office and the NALC get together and have a little powwow, and they decide what all the language means in easy, simple to understand terms and kind of just extrapolate on it. So, with that out of the way, opting. Article 41 2B3 of the Joint Contract Administration Manual talks about opting. When an assignment is vacant for 5 days or more, carriers get the option to quote-unquote opt onto the route and quote-unquote hold down the assignment during the regular carrier's leave. Some places call it a mini bid, a hold down, an opt. There's probably 18 million more names for it. 5 days or more constitutes the eligibility for a hold down, and the JCAM also states that the hold down is for the duration of the assignment, which means once you begin on an opt, you cannot be removed from the opt either voluntarily or involuntarily. So if someone's expected to be out of work for 5 days, you opt and they end up being out for 12 months. It's your opt for the duration until the regular carrier returns. It's incredibly unlikely, but it's possible, that a local memorandum of understanding, or LMOU, or local past practice may allow you to bid on less than 5 days, but again, it's not likely. If you don't know if your office does this, talk to your steward. When in doubt, talk to your steward. There's a few reasons why an opt may become available. If a carrier takes annual leave, or if somebody gets injured, or if they have long-term sick leave, or if somebody has a leave of absence, like if they get deployed or whatever with military service, or if a carrier gets put on emergency placement, or if somebody gets suspended. Those are all situations where you might constitute having an opt, as long as it's more than 5 days.
Yeah. And okay, so so who can opt and get a hold down, right? Full-time reserves and full-time flexibles can. We don't really see them too much. They're kind of like odd ducks. And then unassigned regulars, which are, it's a regular who doesn't have a route, right? You see them a little bit more often, but for our intents and purposes, PTFs and CCAs, are going to be the primary ones holding down routes, right? So 204Bs, also known as a substitute supervisor. This is usually a carrier who's doing manager supervisor stuff. I'm going to leave that one alone right now. But while on when a 204B is on a supervisor assignment, they can't have a hold down, and T6s cannot build on a hold down. T6s are known as the character technical or utility carriers. They're the guys in your office. They're the guys in your office that are bouncing around, covering different routes every day. They're a different classification of letter carriers on a higher pay level assignment. They cover 5 routes scheduled for. Basically, it's when those routes regular carrier is on the day off usually, because they're a higher level assignment. They don't get the option to opt, right?
Right. So when you're assigned to an opt, You're guaranteed the hours of the assignment for the most part. There's some specific situations where management can mess with this, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But if they don't do it right, like the specific situations dictate, you probably have a grievance, and your steward can get you paid, probably. We'll talk about it. We'll get there. However, this doesn't mean that you're only working 8 hours on an opt and going home. You can still be given a pivot, a handoff, a bump, a split, or whatever the hell your office calls it. If you put in a $39.96 saying you're going to be an hour over, management can potentially take that hour off you and then give you 2 hours off a different route. The language reads, a letter carrier who has selected a craft duty assignment by exercise of seniority shall work that duty assignment for its duration. And the JCAM states further, you're guaranteed the right to work the hours of duty and scheduled days of the regular carrier. It must be noted, however, that days off are assumed only in the sense that a hold-down carrier will not work on those days unless otherwise scheduled. In other words, a hold-down carrier is not guaranteed the right to not work on non-scheduled days. I want y'all to read that 5 times fast. Can you do that real quick? Just read that 5 times fast, because I almost couldn't.
All right, so now that we know what an opt is, what are the main reasons why we want to opt? Okay, so like for learning the job, getting your hold down is going to be, you're going to learn a lot more about your job as a letter carrier having a hold down than just coming in and doing a series of handoffs throughout the day, right? And that's going to be really cool. We'll talk about that in a second. The other thing is the main reason for why you want to hold down and why this is so really important to you as a CCA is this is going to be one of the big ways that you are going to break out of this like de facto on-call status that management likes to put CCAs in, where you're scheduled every day and they randomly tell you at the last minute when you're going to have a day off. That sucks. We're adults. We have adult stuff to do. That we need to know our schedule. So this is going to help get us some stability there, right? So let's go over the job knowledge part first. So one of the things when you get a hold down on an opt, you're going to come in every day that route is scheduled to work, and you're going to work that route every day. You are going to be the one casing the route. You're going to be the one carrying the route. This is where you're going to learn some stuff that you haven't learned yet. You're going to learn. So it's stuff that you're not going to learn in your hand, just delivering handoffs. You're going to like figure out how to do holds and forwards, what houses are vacant, right? Who currently lives where, what businesses are open on Saturdays, all that stuff. It's also going to give you the space and time to kind of find your rhythm, right? Like your walking pace and all this other stuff. You're not going to feel as hurried and stuff. And we don't worry about speed anyway, right, guys? We don't worry about speed. We worry about doing a job well done. This is where you're going to kind of get in the flow and find your rhythm, which to me, it makes my day a lot easier once I find my stride, right? And this is also where you're going to kind of determine for yourself how long sections of your route take, right? Rather than having to take management's, word for it when they hand you a 2-hour handoff, you're going to know, like the walking on my route takes about 2 hours and 15 minutes. On an average day for me. I'm not going to try and make that every day because I'm not going to be able to make that every day. And some days I'm going to be able to make it sooner. But like I know that, right? So I know how much of my route is left in front of me. This is also where you're going to learn how to fill out a 3996 because you probably haven't done that yet. But when you have your hold down and I know that my route's over by 50 minutes and I suddenly have a lot of certifieds or I have twice as many packages or whatever, because I've been on the route for a little bit, I now know how to fill out my 3996 to cover my ass when I go over 8, right? You're going to learn that here. This is also probably where you'll get the most experience you've had so far on casing. So like Gus was saying when he came on and was talking about like once you learn how to case, you can case at any case, right? You're going to get that practice here, and because you are at this case every morning, you are going to be able to practice those skills and kind of get over the kind of the intimidation of the case. That's kind of where you're going to start doing that for the most part. That's not everyone's experience. That was my experience though, right? So now for moving on past knowledge, we're going to talk about how we are going to get some stability and get out of this on-call status that management likes to keep you in, right? So you know how these jerks like to schedule you every day, and then they'll tell you the night before, call you the night before, or call you the morning of that you got the day off, don't bother to come in, whatever. Well, to hell with that. You're not on call. You're not paid to be on call. They don't pay your cell phone bill. After your 90 days, you don't got to deal with that shit. Okay? So we're going to get a hold down to break you out of that de facto on-call status that management likes to put us in. Okay? So like Mallory was saying in what the opt is and stuff like that, you are entitled to work the route scheduled days, right? So if you're scheduled, that's 5 days a week. Thursday is the non-scheduled day. You are entitled to work Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday on that route. You still probably you might get called in on that Thursday to work that Thursday, but that's cool. That's fine. Everything's fine. We're going to cover all that stuff later. But since your opt guarantees you those 5 days of work, those 5 specific days, this is where it comes in clutch for us. That limits what days management can give you off, right? If they want to work, they're only going to work you 6 days out of that week, that 5 of those days you're going to be working. That means if they want to give you a day off, the only option will be either give you that Sunday off or the route's non-scheduled day. So it gives your schedule some semblance of stability. Cool? So the thing is, to get that semblance of stability and the relatively predictive schedule, management has to play ball. Management has to work with us on this. They can't be violating your mini bid. Okay? So and we're gonna talk about some of that in a little bit, right? If they can't do the right thing, though, we're gonna make them pay for it. Like Mallory was saying earlier, they got to pay you if they mess this stuff up, right? Your steward will get you paid. So the first thing you're going to do, use it now that you got your mini bid, is you're going to learn the rules, which we'll get to, because they can bump you in certain situations, and we'll talk about what a clean bump and a dirty bump, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so you got your mini bid. We're going to learn our rules. You're going to get your schedule. You're going to take a picture of it, and then you are not going to answer your phone when you are not at work. If you're at work, you don't have to answer your phone. You're not going to answer your phone because if they try and call you on the day that you're on the schedule it says you're supposed to work, and they try and call you on your way in to tell you you have the day off, you're not answering your phone, because we're going to do a little thing called malicious compliance. I love malicious compliance. So this is what malicious compliance is. Malicious compliance is the concept of following an instruction in a petty way that makes it a problem for the person giving you that instruction. Okay? And for our purposes here, oh, sorry, Mallory, what?
I'm just going to cut in and say our malicious compliance is one of the best subreddits of all time. If you ever want to listen to or read other people's pettiness in a similar fashion, go to that subreddit. You'll love it.
That is a really good subreddit. But yeah, so malicious compliance, it's the idea that so we have to follow instructions. The rule is you follow the instruction and you grieve it later. So what we're going to do is not only are we going to follow their instruction and grieve it later, we're going to follow the instructions in such a way that screws with management, right? This is I said it's a petty way of doing things, but petty is all we got in this. It's self-preservation for us. It's taking care of us while also doing what we're instructed to do. So you are going to follow that schedule that has you scheduled every day. Cool? If they try to call you the morning of, the night before, you don't answer your phone. Come in. You just come in, right? So when you're on the schedule to work, you show up. You don't answer your damn phone. They got to pay you show up time. So if you show up and you've worked 6 days already, this is the 7th day, and they didn't give you a heads up that you had the day off, and you get into work and you didn't answer your phone and they've been calling you all morning to try and tell you not to come in, you came in and they tell you to go home, go home. And then when you get in the next day, talk to your steward and you will get paid 2 or 4 hours, depending in your area. You get paid show up time. That's 2 or 4 hours. Cool? And if they send you home on a scheduled day for the route, like I'm on Route 1928, my NS day, the route's NS day is Thursday. I am on the schedule for Thursday. If they tell me on Wednesday not to come, or if they tell me on Friday not to come in because they had me work every other day of the week, Friday is a scheduled day on that route, I say, okay, I go home, I enjoy my day off. The next morning, I talk to Rodney, my steward, who's a badass, and he files a grievance, and I am paid 8 hours for that day off that I just had because I was entitled to work that. Okay? That's how that works. So we're going to do malicious compliance till they give you a solid schedule. Because they can only screw with it for so long before they start getting in trouble because you're filing all these grievances, right? So we're using malicious compliance, not answering the phone, and knowing the rules and the grievance procedure in order to kind of, swat them on the nose with a rolled up paper towel or rolled up newspaper, whatever you're supposed to do. You're gonna swat them in the nose with that grievance every time they start doing this, and they'll eventually stop doing this to you, right? And you're going to make some money on that. Yeah. So the final thing on that is you got to be quick on these grievances when they screw with you on your mini bid. Okay? You need to be quick. You need to do it every time. Don't let them they'll be super nice to you about something to try and get you to not file the grievance, but they'll roll right over on you. We don't trust them. We don't let them get away with anything. They won't let you get away with anything. We don't let them get away with anything. You have to be quick and consistent with your grievances on this, and then they will eventually stop messing with it. Okay? And the more consistent your schedule will be, the more you will be treated more like the letter carrier that you are. Okay?
Okay. So, how do you get an opt? How do you opt? First things first, you must be 61 days old. CCAs may not opt for the first 60 calendar days of their first appointment as a CCA. So once you hit day 61, do that thing. So you're 61 plus days old in your career. You then have to find out what's available. Not every office has a definitive method of opting, but some do. Your first option is to check your vacation board, calendar, list, however your office tracks annual leave. It's going to be different everywhere. Some offices will post available routes on a bulletin board or something like that, and you can sign up for it on that sheet. If those options aren't used in your office or easily accessible, you can find out about vacancies through word of mouth. You can always, go up to Joe Smith next to you in your case and say, hey, when are you taking vacation this year? And find out. Are there routes in your office that are being split up every single day? Well, chances are that carrier's out on sick leave or something, and you could opt on that route. Finally, reliable. You can ask your steward how your office handles hold downs. How did you know that I was going to say you can ask your steward? Is that predictable of me? Yes, it is, because you should ask your steward.
Even if I know exactly what I'm talking about, I still will call Rodney and bother him. Just be like, "Hey, yeah, I got this right?"
Reassure me, senpai.
Yes, exactly.
The national agreement doesn't have specific procedures for announcing hold downs. It may be governed by your LMOU or local policy, but the JCAM states that if those aren't in place, quote, there is no requirement that management post a vacancy, and carriers who wish to opt must learn of available assignments by word of mouth or by reviewing scheduling documents. So now that you know what's available, you gotta do the thing. If it's a list, sign it. If there's not a list, write a hold down request on a piece of paper. Use their printer paper, first of all. Do not use your printer paper. We do not waste our personal resources on management. Go up to their printer, pull the bitch open, and get you a piece of their paper. Write your name.
Oh, I was going to say, don't give them anything for free. They don't want to give you nothing for free. Don't give them anything for free. Malicious compliance, baby.
Exactly. That reminds me. I always say gift whenever I hand a 96 back to my supervisor after I do a pivot. And
That's funny.
she, one day she kind of snapped at me a little bit. She was like, you always say gift, but it's never actually a gift. I'm like, well, I'm not giving you any gifts. So this is the best gift you're going to get. Anyway.
Yeah.
So when you use their printer paper, you're going to write your name on it. You're going to write the dates that you want to hold down. You're going to write which route you're holding down. You're going to sign it. You're going to date it. You're going to give it to your supervisor and say, hey, sign this and date this, please, and then make me a copy or take a picture of it And lately I have been emailing myself any pictures that I take at work, like of my ask-offs and stuff. Good habit to make, because if you're like me and your photo album gets really full really quick, emailing it makes it easier. Just a little tidbit for me. Anyway, you should also tell your steward that you put in a hold down in case management does some shisty shit, like pretending to lose it or something. I don't know. Just tell them anyway. Even if other people have bids in, you should put one in anyway, because you never know what might happen. That hold down likely won't be awarded until the week before when the schedule comes up, and even then they could still change it. The JCAM talks about a bunch of situations where an opt can change in section 41(2)(b)(3). An employee does not become entitled to a hold down assignment until the anticipated vacancy actually occurs. Thus, an employee who successfully opts for a vacancy that fails to materialize is not guaranteed the assignment. So, if a CCA ahead of you in seniority, like, opts on it, and then let's just say they get hurt or fired or something, then you already put a hold down in because you listened when we said put one in anyway. So now that unforeseen situation, now you got that hold down, bruh. You should put the hold down in anyway, because I can't predict the future, can you? Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's cut to commercial real quick. Do a little commercial break. We'll be right back.
Today's episode is brought to you by not skipping your breaks. When you skip your breaks and your lunch, you work for free for 50 minutes. Don't skip your breaks. You only reward yourself with more work. It's my money, and I need it now.
All right, guys, welcome back. Hey, Mallory, I love our sponsors. Don't you love our sponsors?
I greatly love our sponsors.
I will spend all my money on those products.
Those
Okay.
products and services.
All right, friends. So we talked about specific situations where management could fuck with your hold down earlier, and we said we'd hit that later, right? Well, the time has come, friends. So there are two types of bumps: clean bumps and dirty bumps. Clean bumps are contractual, and like it's management doing their things in the right way. And then there's dirty bumps, which are grievances, and we're gonna get paid for that in some instances, and we're gonna slap them with a grievance either way, so we can exercise our rights, right? So it's a clean bump happens when you are like on your break in service, right? Or a T6 bumps you when there's no routes available on their string, or it's the T6 day to work that route and make sure a regular carrier gets 40 hours of undertime, or to make sure a PTF gets straight time before a CCA, or when a regular on the route comes back to work, even if it's only to perform a small part of their duties. Like if you're like in my office, there's a route that the carrier doesn't carry it at all, but they are there and they case it. So that broke the mini bid that someone had on that route, because the regular carrier is there to just case it, right? That ends the hold down. So those are some examples of a clean break. So if your 5-day break in service happens while you're on a hold down, you would take your break in service. Someone else would have the opportunity to opt on that route while you're gone. Like it's an opt inside of an opt inside of an opt. It's an opception. An opception. Fuck, I can't say that. Mallory, I can't say your joke. It's an opt inside of an opt. An opception, if you will. You would still be on that opt when you come back, but someone would hold it down for you while you were gone. Because full-time employees are guaranteed 40 hours a week, management can assign a split, handoff, pivot, or whatever from the hold down to the full-time regular, right? This also applies for the PDF straight time rule in Article 7.1.c.4, which states that PTFs are utilized at the straight time rate prior to assigning work to CCAs, as long as the reporting guarantee for the CCA is met. So the T6 works regular as non-scheduled day on that route, right? That's the assignment. Because of this, you can get bumped. And finally, if the local LMOU allows a regular on their route to bump the T6 when they're called in on their non-scheduled day, like in this instance, if the route you're holding down is on the T6's string and no other routes on the string are available, the T6 can bump the carrier off the hold. This doesn't mean that the opt is terminated. It just means they switch it up on that day, right? It didn't break your mini bid. You got bumped, and it was a clean bump. So you just kind of go do whatever. Get a change of scenery for the day.
Yeah. All those situations are clean, no issue. Those are kosher. Everything's fine, no grievance. If any of these next situations occur, however, that's a dirty bump, and you should grieve that shit after it's all said and done. Dirty bumps happen when a T6 bumps you because their string is being split up or covered by part-time carriers or a CCA without a bid. The T6 is a higher level assignment and should only be removed from their string by the full-time regular being called in on their NS day. The other situation where it's a dirty bump is where management just wants to move you for quote-unquote reasons. Like, you know this route better than this guy, or we don't want you to go into overtime, or we need to give so-and-so this curbside section, so you need to take this jump stop section. Or we're going to change the off day of this route from Saturday to Thursday so you don't go into overtime. Or we need you to go to the neighboring office 30 minutes away because they need help. Management cannot bump you off your opt for reasons other than to guarantee a full-time position's hours or a T6 string. Or the PTF thing. If you think that you're being subjected to a dirty bump, make sure you ask your steward. Wow, who'd have thought I would have said that? Ask your steward for clarification and have them file your grievance. In these situations, you have to, unfortunately, follow instructions and grieve it after, but if you're entitled to the hours, then you're probably entitled to a little bit of money, too. Yeehaw, brother.
Yeah, this is how I learned a lot of this stuff was just managers doing dirty bumps all the time, and my steward managed to get me something like $1,200 in the case of like a couple weeks in just grievance money. It's wild. Yeah. So okay, there's a few little miscellaneous tidbits that are worth mentioning. Okay, so like this quote: an employee who successfully opts for a hold down assignment is said to be guaranteed the right to work the hours of duty and scheduled days of the regular carrier. Days off are assumed only in the sense that a hold down carrier will not work on those days unless otherwise scheduled. That's the important part. Unless otherwise scheduled. That means that if you have an extremely light day and get done in 7.5 hours instead of 8, you're not entitled to sit around and wait for 8 like a regular would. You are also not entitled to be off on the regular's day off. Management may give you that day off, but they don't have to. You very well could work the regular's day off unless the route is in a T6 swing, in which case the T6 would get the route that day because that's what their assignment is. Okay?
Next little bitty tidbit is conversion to career. There's two little blips here to go over. If you get converted to full-time regular and you get assigned to a vacant route while you're on your hold down, you have the option to remain on the hold down for the rest of its duration, or you can move to your new assignment. That's entirely up to you. However, if you become full-time regular while on a hold down and a route goes up for bid, and you are awarded the bid, in this instance, you must be reassigned to your new assignment. If there's 5 days or more left on the hold down, then the remainder of the hold down becomes eligible to be filled by another opting carrier. So, if it's a vacant route, you might be able to stay on your route if you want, or your hold down. If it's a vacant route, you might be able to stay on your hold down. If you bid and you get the bid, you have to go to your bid. So, on that note, that's really about all that we have for hold downs. I think we covered everything pretty succinctly. What do you think, Morris?
I think we hit everything that I can think of. There's going to be some stuff that is LMOU specific, but again, like Mallory and I keep saying, ask your steward, bro.
Ask your steward. And there were like little bitty things that we decided not to go over, like when it was talking about who's eligible to bid. It was talking about full-time flexibles and stuff. Like you don't need to know that. They're so rare. They're like albino animals. Like they're really, really rare. So don't worry about that. There's little bitty things. You can go read the JCAM if you want to ensure that you're completely up to date on this stuff, but we pretty much covered anything. So
yeah, a lot of that other stuff is incredibly rare that you're probably not going to worry about it.
Right. So you want to hop to some solidarity stuff?
Oh yeah, let's get on the solidarity soapbox. Okay, so last episode we had that interview with Emily, right? She was talking about getting involved in the branch meeting and stuff, and we talked about other ways to also get involved, like building a fighting NALC and the CLC, right? So I'm going to talk for a second about building a fighting NALC and also some of the actions that you can actually like get involved and go to, right? So building a fighting NLC, it's a reform caucus. They're not running for office. They're not doing election stuff, right? But they are showing up at conventions and stuff and pushing for resolutions. Like they've been pushing really hard for open bargaining, which we know is a problem in the contract. If you listen to any other postal podcast, you know what that means. And like full COLAs, which is the cost of living increase, which you as a CCA don't got to worry about right now, unfortunately. But once you make regular, that's going to be important, right? And it's also to cut our time to top pay from 13 years to 6 years. Like that's one of their goals. And a 30-hour starting wage, right? And they're also talking about they're wanting to push not to strike, but push for the right to strike because we don't have that right now, right? That's some of the stuff. If any of that stuff sounds cool to you, you should check them out at fightingnalc.com. I know they're on Facebook as well. That's kind of the sales pitch, some of their big goals, right? On the 23rd of March, they're going to be doing rallies all over the country. I know I'm trying to organize some stuff down here in Texas. There's already people organizing in New York and Buffalo, and I think there's some out in LA and some in Naples, Florida. So that's a way to get involved. They're a little bit more on the radical end, but yeah, fightingnalc.com, and then the Facebook group, and then March 23rd if you want to get involved in a rally in your town. So that's the spiel there, Mallory.
Yeah, I got a little one too. Actually, I've got two. The first one
Ooh.
I have is we're going to talk about the concerned letter carriers again. Shameless plug. I know that y'all can't see, but I'm wearing my CLC hoodie right now. Got a rep. The Concerned Letter Carriers is a nonprofit movement consisting of leaders who are advocating for reform within the NALC. We want to promote transparency, accountability, focus on improving working conditions, member benefits, that kind of thing. The CLC is currently promoting a slate of candidates for NALC officer positions in 2026, including James Henry for president, Corey Walton for director of city delivery, and several national business agents. The CLC stands for numerous reforms, policy changes, carrier protections, all kinds of jumbo, which can be read about on their website. It's concernedlettercarriers.com. You can read their platform. You can read people's biographies. There's posters that your girl made. You can print them and hang in your office. You can get access to their other social media platforms and probably some other stuff I didn't mention. So check them out. I'm a big proponent of the CLC, and I hope that you become one too, because CLC is going to do big stuff. The last thing I got, and Morris, I'm throwing this one from left field. You don't know about this one.
Oh, hit me with it, dude. Hit me.
Yeah. If you're active online, I'm sure that you're aware we are in uncertain times right now. I want to reassure you and say that while people are saying a lot of stuff about our current government and the status of the post office and such, regardless of what happens, the NALC and the other postal unions are going to fight like nothing you've ever seen before to protect our way of living within our jobs. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that should something come down that affects us in a negative manner, it's going to be fought with every single breath that the unions have. So please keep that in mind. Everything's going to be okay. We're in this together. This is, solidarity soapbox. I've got your back. Hopefully you've got my back if I'm ever sitting next to you somewhere. We got to be here for each other and support each other while everybody's kind of scattered and scared and unsure. Everything's going to be okay. I love each and every one of you. If you ever need to talk and vent or whatever, you know where to reach me. I mean, you can reach me by email, or on Discord is the best way. But be there for each other in this time, because it's scary, but we can be a strong movement together. Okay? I love you guys.
Fuck yeah, Mal. Give them hell, Mal.
Yeah, boy.
All right, guys. Yeah, like Mal was saying, we love you. Please be safe, be kind to each other, take care of each other. Yeah, solidarity forever, guys.